Good. Well, what a treat, what an honour to have so many people here. So thank you for coming. Just a bit of an introduction. My name is Neil Gracie, and for those of you who don't know me, I've been here for almost 1 year in Temora. So I gave it 1 year to decide whether I'd stay or I'd go somewhere else. And anyway, good news or bad news, I'm staying. So you've got stuck with me for a bit longer because it's a lovely spot, Temora. Before I start, I've got a few songs to play for you, and I'll just give you a little bit of background, my musical background. I had no choice but to learn the piano because my dad was thanks Michael, was a piano teacher. And so he took me through all my grades up to grade 7 until I just had enough, and then and 5th grade theory, and then in my 20s I went with another teacher. I think Dad got sick of me by that stage, but he was a very strict disciplinarian. I had no choice. 2 hours when I was 5 years old on a Sunday afternoon, homework every day, and he'd tell my friends to go away for a while. He's got my lesson. So, but anyway, I thank Dad for the gift of music. And it's appropriate to be in a church because this is a gift from God. And again, it's many various forms of jazz. So I want to play for a few times here as well. So basically, after I did my grade 8 in AMSA at the Conservatorium, I gave up classical music. So I haven't played classical music for about 44 years. So and I moved on to jazz because a good friend of mine is about the best jazz piano player in Australia called Peter McMillan. And so I moved into jazz, and then on to bands and piano bars, and I had a contract at the Hilton in Brisbane and Stanford Plaza, and it's just given me that much delight that I really thank Dad for persevering with me, because I could have easily given up the piano and not had any more to do with it, but it's a great gift, and I thank Dad and I thank God for the gift of music. One time I was about 7 years old, I remember I'd had enough of the piano and I ran away from the piano, and I ducked out through the lounge, through the kitchen, out the back door and down to the bush, because we lived in the Adelaide Hills, and I was running as fast as I could, but Dad caught up to me and picked me up by the belt, and he dragged me back and plonked me back on the piano. So again, and then later on my dad actually started a piano shop. So my life has been around pianos, and he taught me how to strip a piano down and repair pianos and tuning. So that's sort of my background. So at the moment, and then up in Brisbane, I lived in Kangaroo Point, which is right in the middle of Brisbane, and it's walking distance to the Brisbane Jazz Club. And so again, I was allowed to have a position there as the resident piano player at the Brisbane Jazz Club. And I'm not really a jazz player, sorry to disappoint you, but there are so many brilliant musicians that I saw at the Jazz Club that I felt honoured to be the chance to play there. For about 7 years I was there, and then we moved up to Kingaroy. And from Kingaroy I've come down here, so this is my little journey. So I hope you enjoy this afternoon. I've chosen a few songs, hopefully you'll know them. But someone said about jazz, what is jazz? And jazz is really hard to explain. It comes from the late 19th century to the early 20th century, from around New Orleans. And it was the African Americans that actually started it. And then from there came the blues and all the others, or different genres of jazz. So again, I'd love to have a double bass behind me, and I'd love to have a jazz guitarist on my right. I'd love to have a drummer right behind me with brushes, and I'd love to have a female singer. But today you've just got me, so there we go. We'll do the best we can. So just imagine that those instruments are behind me. Now, why do we... there's a saying in jazz that there are no wrong notes in jazz, no wrong notes, just wrong decisions. And that's very true of jazz. And it's very much improvisation that you hear in jazz. And there's some forms of jazz, some different types of jazz, that some parts I don't even like. Sometimes I'm not that keen on trad jazz. I like funky jazz rock and those things. But again, everyone's different. And that's one good thing, that God's given us free will, and He's given us all different types of pleasures. And so again, hopefully you'll enjoy that. Sort of little things like sound like a whole bunch of notes, but it's actually got a foundation to it. It's actually a progression. It goes from B to G to C to F to B, E, A. And then you add chords, and then you... So it's very much an interpretation of the person playing jazz, and it depends on how you feel and what you want to do. And it's a conversation with the audience, from the musician to the audience there. So, all right, Kissinger, use the imagination. Yes, I usually use the imagination. I had two groups I basically played with. One was Tempo, which was a cabaret band. I played for about 10 years with them back in Ballarat when I was there. And it was a cabaret band and like a wedding band. And then I played in a pub band called Hydrosis. It was called Hydrosis because they were all ambulance officers there. And so again, I've had the best world of different types of music. But anyway, I'll start off with one that was voted the most popular song ever that people recognised. And you might recognise it. It's Take 5 by Dave Brubeck Quartet. Do you know that one, dear? Take 5. And it became the biggest jazz single of all time for Dave Brubeck Quartet. But it's an unusual, unlikely hit song, Take 5. Why? Well, 3 reasons. Firstly, there's no words to it. So a lot of songs have got words. Secondly, it was basically, it's unlikely because it's like a jazz tune. And thirdly, it goes with vamping. That's like a collection of chords. So this is Take 5. I hope you enjoy it. Take 5, very common amongst the school bands. I like to do that one. Written by Paul Benson, who wrote Take 5, and that was in 1959 that song came out. And Paul was going to give away the rights to the song for an electric razor, and that was his, I don't know why, but for some reason it didn't eventuate, and after his death it was passed on in his will to Red Cross, and that's when it took off. So that's Take 5. The next one I want to play for you is Satin Doll. Have you heard of that? Satin Doll? By Duke Ellington. And that was in 1953, the year I was born. So to save you the trouble of doing a calculation, I'll tell you 72 years ago. so that's how old I am. And the lyrics were written by Johnny Mercer in 1959. Duke Ellington was a composer, a pianist and a band leader. And he played at the Cotton Club in Harlem, New York Jazz Club, and it was made famous. And it really, at the time, that presented first-class music to mainly a wealthy white-only audience. I've got two introductions to Satin Doll. I'll play both for you, but you can choose which one you prefer because you've all got free choice. The first one goes this way. This next one I like better, but that's my own personal choice. Satin Doll. You notice that I'm not singing these songs. I don't want to put you through any misery, but I will sing one song later on. Two songs actually. Anyway, that's Satin Doll. And which introduction did you like? The first one or the second one?
Second one.
Second one? Yeah, so did I. Good choice. All right, the next one I want to play for you is Fly Me to the Moon. So you must know that one. Written in 1954, when I was one. And Frank Sinatra made famous, as you will know, the old crooner. And when I mentioned that to my mate, who's the jazz piano player back in Adelaide, he said, "Oh, yeah, tell the people there that tell the people there that it's a 4-7-3-6-2-5-1 progression." I'm not going to tell them that. I didn't even understand it myself. And that's the very, very same one as Autumn Leaves, the same progression, 4-7-3-6-2-5-1. I went, "Oh, okay, no, I think I won't tell you about that. It's too complex." It's originally titled, Fly Me to the Moon was originally titled In Other Words, because part of the song is, "In other words, hold my hand," but they changed it to Fly Me to the Moon. And it's now the name of a film. Has everyone seen Fly Me to the Moon? It's a fairly recent film out. It just came out, yeah. And basically it's sort of like took away the myth that it was a fake moon landing. So, again, interesting film. So it had a bit of a hook to it as well. So, and so it became closely associated with NASA's Apollo space program. Now here, when I was in Tempo, I just allowed me to indulge me there. Tempo, the cabaret band, didn't have a bass player. So it had a keyboard player with me, we had a guitarist, we had a drummer, and we had a singer. We didn't have a bass player. And the drummer and the singer was husband and wife, which was sometimes good and sometimes not so good. So basically I had to sort of like, my left hand tended to go down, and I turned the bass up. So I sort of became the bass player for the group. And this carried on for quite a while. So you'll see this, I can't help myself. My left hand goes down. And not being classical now, I've given up on classical, I might take it up, but classical was very, very strict timing. And as you know now, I go all over the place. I speed up, slow down, it depends on how I feel. So again, you'll hear my bass players, my bass coming out in this song. One time it came to a head when I was playing for the music team at church down in Ballarat. And we had a bass player there, and we're playing away, and my left hand was starting to go down. And one day he came up to me and said, "Neil, between there is no go. Don't you go down there. That's my area." And I thought I was saying, this is a terrible thing for me to do. I thought I was saying, well, if he played the bass right, I wouldn't need to go down that way. But I held my tongue, and I didn't say that. It was a good move. So.